All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Anderson for Kellogg Community College, and today we're going to be looking at the final exam review, part 6. And we're going to be looking at 3 problems today dealing with inequalities, set notation, graphing, because in this section we're going to require several things of you. We're going to require you to solve for x, we're going to require you to make a graph of this, and then we're going to require for you to write either the set or the interval notation. So please read the instructions accordingly when you get to this section of the final exam. Now, in this case, we have the absolute value of x plus 4 is less than 2. As discussed in the previous video, we write the question as we see it, and then we write the question with the symbol flipped and the opposite answer. Now, we do symbol flip because we would technically be looking at the negative, and when we look at negatives or dividing by a negative, we would flip the symbol. So this gives us 2 equations to solve. So we're going to have x, which is less than negative 2, and if I subtract 4 from both sides here, I get x, which is greater than negative 6. Now, what I would do first before trying to write your answer is I would draw this on a number line. The number line, there might be one provided for you here. Negative 6 and negative 2 are on the number line, and you'll see that x is greater than negative 6. So this is a parenthesis going in the right direction. And then here we have x is less than negative 2, so we have a parenthesis and going in a negative, or the less direction. So this is technically an AND statement. So we want all the values that are greater than or equal to, greater than negative 6 and less than negative 2. So here we have our graph, and we have our answers. Now we have to write our solution set. If we choose to do this in interval notation, it's actually pretty easy. The interval notation is between negative 6 and 2. And these are parentheses because this wasn't a less than or equal to symbol, and then in that case it would be a bracket. So if we want to use set notation, we would use the set, and we're going to talk about x, such that x would be between negative 6 and negative 2. Now the way I read it and wrote it, you may not be familiar with that, but really this means that negative 6 is smaller than x, which is smaller than negative 2, or x is greater than negative 6 and x is smaller than negative 2. This is the way you have to write it. We will not accept this backwards, which is negative 2 is greater than x, which is greater than negative 6. This is proper math grammar for set notation, and this is how you would properly write an AND notation. So I'm going to now do problem 21. We write the equation as we see it, and then we write the equation as we see it, but we flip the inequality like so, and then we use the opposite answer. So we're going to add 4 to both sides to get the equation rolling here. So 3y is greater than 12. Divide both sides by 3, and y is greater than 4. We're also going to do the same thing over here, add 4 to both sides. And what this gives us is 3y is less than negative 4. Dividing both sides by 3, y is less than negative 4/3. What this gives us on a number line, and I'll draw the number line here, this gives us this look, that we want y, first of all, let's put our 2 values here so we can see where the directions are going. It looks like our y is going positive of 4 to infinity, and it looks like it's going negative from negative 4/3 to negative infinity. So what this means is that we have the interval notation going from negative infinity to 4/3, or we have 4 to positive infinity. Now if you want to be cool about this, you can use the set or the union symbol, and the union symbol is another way of saying or. It just means that it's the collection of all answers that are between negative infinity and negative 4/3, or it's the collection between 4 and positive infinity. If you were to use set notation, you would have, well, in this case, y, not x. Keep wanting to write x, but it's out of habit. You'll have y, so in the line, and you're going to have y is less than negative 4/3, or you could put a comma there, y is greater than 4. Alright, now let's take a look at the last problem on this page here. This is a betweenness problem, and there's many different ways to solve it. I'm going to choose to solve this in a way that is not actually given in the answer key. The way I like to solve it is to write it twice. Write it first this way, which is -3, which is less than or equal to -2x minus 1. And the other way I'm going to solve it, I'm going to show a different color here just so you can see that see the difference here. I'm going to solve it this way, which is -2x minus 1, which is less than 5. So I'm first going to go back to blue. Try to go back to blue. Hold on. Okay, got it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one to both sides, like this. So I've got -2 is less than or equal to -2x. Divide both sides by -2. So x in this case is going to flip the symbol, and then I flip the symbol one more time. X is less than or equal to 1. Now I'm going to solve this for green. I can't seem to get the green to select here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so add 1 to both sides. So -2x is less than 6. And then divide both sides by -2. This gives me x is greater than -3. Now what I'm going to do is choose a brand new color here. I'll go with purple. And I'll show you what these two equations do when you put them on a number line. I have this one here, which is x is greater than -3, so -3, and the symbol's going that way. Now here I got x is less than or equal to 1. Notice here's the bracket, and I got the symbol going this way. So this is an and symbol. This is where we are between -3 and 1, and as an interval notation, this is pretty easy because you can just write it like you see it here, -3 to 1, including the 1. If we were to write set notation, this would be x, and we would be going between -3 and 1. We would be less than or equal to 1, and have the x in the middle. So again, if I ask you on the test to use set or interval notation, be familiar with both so you won't be caught off guard. You can use the one you like if I don't actually mention which one to use, but please note the techniques to solve for x in each of these problems on this page, and you may want to review the previous video, part 5, to see where we're getting some of the work on absolute value. Thank you very much.